Over now to what is just a stunning new report in the Nancy Guthrie case. So some members of the joint FBI Pima County Sheriff's Task Force that's investigating Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, they are reportedly questioning whether they missed a crucial opportunity in the early days of this case. The opportunity? A $4 million crypto ransom demand in exchange for Nancy Guthrie's safe return. That investigators, they answered with just $152 in Bitcoin. That's what's being reported by a former New York Times writer named Howard Blum for an outlet called Airmail. Now, the Nancy Guthrie family, they received multiple ransom communications, but the one that was sent on February 2nd, the day after Nancy disappeared, that was the one that stood out. According to Airmail, it accurately described what Nancy was wearing the night that she was apparently kidnapped, and it mentioned this damaged floodlight in the backyard. So these are details that investigators believed lent credibility to that demand, lend credibility to the note. The email, also the note, also provided a Bitcoin wallet where the money was supposed to be sent. But again, instead of transferring the full $4 million, investigators reportedly deposited just $152 into that Bitcoin wallet as part of a strategy that was designed to see whether the suspects would move the money, would reveal their identities. It's called tickling the wire. They never did. The money has reportedly sat untouched for months. And now comes the question. Should investigators have paid? My next guest might know. Todd Spodek, he's a cybercrime attorney who has handled some of the country's most high-profile fraud and crypto cases, currently representing Ronald Spector, who's accused of masterminding a $16 million phishing scam. Good to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You made a lot of news in the New York Post. I saw your comments about it.
Yes.
Should they have paid the $4 million?
It's really not fair to analyze this from this point and decide whether they should or should not have.
Well, the only reason I'm saying is the reporting that they might be saying we're second guessing what happened.
But that's always going to be the case.
Okay.
They could have paid $4 million and it could have gone nowhere. The issue is that any sophisticated cyber criminal is going to take that cryptocurrency and they're not going to put it in a position where they could trace it. They're not going to use an exchange that has real pedigree information or IP addresses or social security numbers or date of births or anything. They're going to do things to mask it. And so what the FBI is hoping is that they would use a real currency exchange like Coinbase or something where they could use it to tickle the wire to get a lead to other investigative information.
How, I was remembering when that was happening, and I actually talked with a former FBI agent today, and he's like, there was so much talk on the media. So many pundits came on who said they're cybersecurity experts who will track it. They'll be able to, and it might have scared the people off. I mean, what is the ability to actually track this money down and track the identities of the people?
It's twofold, right? So one, you have to have the information on the exchange, and then you have to have law enforcement that's actively seeking leads and using external sources. It's the combination of the two that could lead them to the actual culprit. It's not just one. So it's old-fashioned detective work and the information on the exchange.
Why didn't they take the money?
Why didn't the actual individuals take the money?
$152. Why didn't they
because if they were to withdraw that money or do something with it, it could have led them to another source. It could have led them to something.
Bigger question. Does it give you an idea about who they are? So this is an interesting point. Now there's a conversation, you talk about multiple people. Is it the same person, the masked guy on the porch, the same person making the demands, the same person allegedly writing these notes? Because they believe, authorities, based on the reporting, that the two notes, the first one and the second one, were written by the same or authored by the same people. Do you think there's multiple people here? Is this a sophisticated operation?
I really don't. I deal with a lot of these types of cases, and if you look at the evidence here, you look at that video, you look at him having the gun in his waist, you look at him moving, the tree to sort of block the camera. This doesn't look like a very sophisticated scam. It doesn't look like organized crime. It really looks like a situation that evolved to something they weren't planned for. I think there was a potential to get money for this situation, and they blew the opportunity, and I think they made a fatal mistake, and it's just horrible all around.
There's another conversation, did they panic? That they didn't think that Nancy, there was at one point they didn't know who Nancy was. There's another conversation that she might have, like in the second note, that she might have died.
Absolutely.
This was an older woman. They panicked, and they may have felt bad. I mean, there's mixed reporting on whether or not they apologized or not in the note.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anything could happen. I think this is like a fluid situation, right? They may have gotten involved thinking this was going to be a quick get-rich scam and they were going to be able to get money out of it and move on. And now they're involved in this basically homicide conspiracy, which is not what they signed up for, and I don't think that's the reality here. So I do think they got scared.
Well, if they really feel bad, why not really reveal where her body is? They said she's buried with a picture.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Right?
I hope they do.
I mean, assuming they're telling the truth about it. I mean, look, this is interesting. There's an FBI source who spoke to TMZ who said they believe the case is ultimately going to be solved, that someone's going to come forward, a friend, an accomplice, a former partner, you get more information out there. Is that how a case like this is typically getting solved? And by the way, we're having a conversation about notes that were sent in February. It's June.
Yeah,
but it's never too late for somebody to do the right thing.
I think the FBI source is correct in that there's a lot of opportunities for people to speak. People get arrested on other cases, they get in trouble, and there's always a connection to someone who has information. And ultimately, it's very easy for someone to have loose lips and start talking when it's convenient for them, when there's an advantage to them. And I think that's how these cold cases get broken. And you see that all the time. You see the FBI be able to break these cases that are decades old because someone came forward with new information. And I think that's a real possibility here.
Big news. There was a former FBI agent who went on Megyn Kelly's show and basically said she believes that, you know, for whatever information she has, that the porch guy is going to be identified and arrested soon. TMZ, there's a separate TMZ report that came out just a few hours ago. It says law enforcement sources, they're not close to an arrest this week, that they're not closer they were this week than they were 2 weeks ago. They're still waiting for a key piece of evidence to break the case. What do we make of this?
I mean, I think that anyone who's involved in this conspiracy, who put themselves in the spotlight, put themselves on video, put themselves in a position where they're sending notes, there is a risk that they're going to get caught. And I think law enforcement is moving quickly. They're following up on leads, they're following up on sources, and all you need is an incremental movement to make that arrest. You don't need everything.
Right.
All you need is that probable cause. You need enough to move the needle from here to there.
You know what I didn't even ask you yet, and it's the number one question I had. Can you track the IP addresses? So if they're assuming that the digital notes were sent by the same person, same computer, what do? How do you track the proxy servers?
Absolutely. You could track multiple things. You could track the IP. You could track who is paying for that service, right? If they're using the internet, if they're using a phone, who's paying for that cell phone, what emails connected to it, what cell phone numbers connected to it. But
I have to imagine they did that already, no?
Right. And any criminal that is at all intelligent is going to mask that of any level.
How do you mask it?
It's easy to mask your IP address, to hide, a little bit of the details, not use your real name when you sign up for an account, not use your real email or real number.
But they believe it. They already have enough information to believe it came from the same source.
Yeah, but that could just be on patterns. That doesn't mean that they have the actual details they need. It could just be based on the communications, on the form that they used, and the methodology they used.
You know what's interesting about this case? I go back and forth whether this was a sophisticated professional or professionals, but at this, because you did look at the video, right?
It's not sophisticated. I think it's clear that it's not.
But there's no, they haven't left anything behind. There's been no arrest. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
But we don't fully know what's been left behind. We only know what the media's been reporting. And I think that if this was that sophisticated, there would be a different outcome here, right? They wouldn't have done it that way. I really do feel that way.
You mean the way that they abducted?
Yeah, it just doesn't strike me as organized crime. It doesn't.
Todd Spodek, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.